So we learned about assignment expression, right? So where you have basically some expression on the right side of the equal symbol, which is evaluated first, and then that value is assigned to the left side of the variable that you have on the left side of the uh, equal symbol, right? So sometime in your program, you will see something like this that you are seeing here, right? So here you have, let's say, you have here, uh, right? So let's say you have basically two statements, like where one is sum is equal to 25, and then you are doing that sum is equal to sum plus 20, right? So if you compare this with some equation in math, so you may think that okay, you are comparing sum with basically sum plus 20, right? So it's not like that here. So what you are doing here, basically, you are updating the sum variable, right? So here, let's say sum has initially valued 25, and then you are doing that sum is equal to sum plus 20, right? So what will happen? So first, whatever you have on the right side of the equal symbol, that will be evaluated, right? So sum has value 25, then 25 will be added with 20, and that value will be assigned again to this sum variable, right? So the sum will have a new value, which is 45 in this case, right? So this kind of expression that you will see in the programming and you will use in the programming, right? So these are called like, these are used for updating the variable basically. So the variable may have some value previously, and then you want to update the value, right? So that's called basically updating. That these are assignment statements which are used to update variables, right? So here you are updating the sum variable which had previously value 25, uh, and then now you are adding 20 into it. The new sum will be 45, right? So this is called updating the variable uh, sum, right? So you can also, like when you are updating some variable, you can also write them in compact form, right? So for example, here you are adding 20 to the variable sum and you are updating it, right? So you can also write in this, write this expression in the compact form like this, okay? So you can write sum equal sum plus 20 in this form, right? Okay? So here, when you have something like this, so let's say if I write something a plus, so if I write, let's say a plus equal to, so what I'm doing basically, I'm updating the variable a and I'm adding 2 into it, right? So how would I write it? Basically, how I can basically decode it. So I'm updating variable a and I'm adding 2 into it, right? So I will write a plus 2, and then I will assign it back to basically a, right? Similarly, if I have to update variable a by decrementing it by subtracting 10 from it. So how would I write that? So if I write a, right? So what does it mean? That you are subtracting 10 from a, and then you're updating that value to a basically. So it is equivalent to a is equal to a minus 10. So whichever form you are comfortable, you can use that, right? So some other example of variable updates are here. So here, if I write I is equal to I plus 1, so then what will happen? So 1 will be added to the previous value of I, and then I will be updated, right? And then the compact form of this is this one, right? Okay. And similarly, if I have n equal n minus 1, so I will subtract 1 from the previous value of n, and then I'll update that. I will update n with that value, right? Similarly, here, if I have j is equal to j times 4, so what I'm doing basically, I'm multiplying the previous value of j with 4, and then I'm updating that new value. I'm assigning that new value to j. And similarly here, m is equal to m divided by 2. So what I'm doing basically, I'm dividing the previous value of m by 2, and then I'm assigning that value to m. So let's say previously m was, let's say 8, and I'm doing this, m is equal to m by 2. So now what I'm doing basically, I'm dividing 2 by 8 by 2, so which is basically 4, and this 4 will be assigned to basically m, right? So this is called updating basically uh, variables, right? So these are the assignment statements which are used for updating variables, right? So now let's talk about like increment and decrement operator, right? So here we use increment or decrement operator when we have basically we are incrementing a variable by 1 or decrementing a variable by 1, right? So let's say, for example, here I have I is equal to I plus 1, right? What I'm doing here that I'm adding 1 to the previous value of I, and then that value will be assigned to I again, right? And the updated value will be assigned to I, right? And so how can I write that? If I write like I plus plus, it will have the same impact that this one. Right? So if I'm incrementing a variable by 1, I can write I plus plus or plus plus I, right? Similarly here, let's say we have C is equal to C plus 1, right? So we are updating the value of C by 1, incrementing the value of C by 1. So I can write this expression, and the short expression is C plus 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 C, right? So you may wonder from this example that why the language that we're studying, it is called C plus plus, right? So because it is basically a successor of C, so it has more features than C. That's why it is called C because it is like one level above the previous C language, right? So C is there. So it is more advanced than C. So that's why it's called C++, which you can write like C++, right? So that's why this language is called C++, right? And then here, n is equal to n minus 1. So you are subtracting 1 from the variable n. So basically, you're decrementing 1. So you can also write n minus minus or minus minus n, right? So which will have the same impact, right? So here, you may notice that we have like, this is I plus plus or n minus minus, right? So here, the operator comes after the variable, right? And in this case, here you have the operator plus plus increment operator or decrement operator. They come before the operand I or n, right? So, so when the operator increment or decrement operator, when they come after the operand, that's called postfix increment operator. And when they come before the basically operand, they're called prefix increment operator, right? Usually they have the same effect, right? But you should know what is the difference, like subtle difference between them, right? So if let's say I write this k is equal to plus plus n, right? So then here we have like before n we have prefix increment operator plus plus, right? So what will happen? So this statement when you want to execute, right? So what will happen here? So this statement will internally will be broken down into two different statements, right? So first, n will be updated by 1, then the new value of n will be assigned to k, okay? Right. So if let's say you have basically n, let's say is 10, right? And you are doing this, k is equal to k plus n, right? Okay. So then what will happen? So this will be broken down into two. First, n will be updated to n plus 1. So n will become basically 11. And then that n will be assigned to k. So k will be 11, right? Okay. So that's the impact of prefix increment operator when it is used with some kind of assignment expression, right? Then if I have an expression k is equal to n plus plus, right? So this called postfix increment operator, which you are using for assignment, right? So here, let's say n is equal to 10, right? And you have this k is equal to n plus plus, right? So in this scenario, this statement will be broken down into two parts, right? So one is basically k is equal to n, and then n will be n plus 1, right? So now here, since n is 10, so k will have basically 10, right? And then now this will be executed, so n will become basically 11, okay? So you see the difference between prefix increment operator or decrement operator and postfix increment or decrement operator. So usually they will do the same thing when they will be used, the expression will be used alone, but when you are using them for assignment, then they may give you different outputs, right? Outcome, right? So that's all about operators. In the class, we'll see some examples, okay?